Hey, you wouldn't happen to be like super interested in animals, would you? Vixen has a webtoon and we're gonna talk about it. Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, reviews comics new and old, to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Vixen, a character with a dedicated fan base and a history full of starts and stops. A character who had knowledge of her disseminated to the mainstream through adaptation and who is now starring in an action comedy slice of life series over on Webtoon. Over there she sports a bit of a different origin and she's been aged down. Now she's just entering college. Vixen was meant to be DC Comics' first female African superhero. She was gonna come out the gate with her own solo series. This during the period of the 70s known as the DC explosion, when DC was putting out all kinds of different sorts of titles, just trying all sorts of things. Man-Bat even had a series. So did the Joker. Both of them then would have series again in the 2020s. What does that say? I don't know. You decide. The only problem was that following this explosion in the year 1978 was the DC implosion, where a whole bunch of titles were canceled. This included Vixen's series before it even was launched. So a pivot had to happen because the company still wanted to debut Vixen, but now it would have to be in a different way. Now she would debut in Action Comics 521 in 1981, wearing this costume. Bask in it. Take it in. She was created by Jerry Conway and Bob Oxner. From there on out, for the most part, she would not have solo outings, but instead be stuck on teams. While she was off times in the background, for some she left quite the impression. Some recall her time on Justice League the Detroit era quite fondly. She was on the Suicide Squad and had a Doom thing with Bronze Tiger. For a time post-Identity Crisis, she was a core member of the Justice League. Her profile was greatly raised by her appearance as a recurring character on Justice League Unlimited, which would highlight her fierce personality, supermodeling career, and feature a romance with Green Lantern John Stewart. One that also managed to subvert the love triangle trope by having her have a good relationship, after some time, with his ex-Hawk Girl. And she's appeared in numerous other adaptations as well, both live action and animated, all of which have helped make her more generally well known. Though of course, not to everyone. Never forget on Brave and the Bold when they paired her with Buona Beast. People remembering Buona Beast exists. While in the comic world on her own, she had a handful of minis, and time for recording some stories inside of anthologies, she had rarely been at the forefront, which some view as a huge missed opportunity. More Vixen! Well, that cry has been heard over on Webtoon. Following the success of DC's first Webtoon collab with Batman Wayne Family Adventures, a largely comedic slice of life outing starring the Bat family, more series were announced in April of 2022. Vixen, Red Hood, and the Outlaws, and Zatanna. Now before we dive in, let's do a brief cliff notes on Marie's origin. Marie Jiwe McCabe, her first origin was that of her growing up in Africa under the care of her father, Reverend Jiwe, who was a single father as her mother had been killed by poachers. Her father was later killed by her uncle in the search for the Tantu Totem. That being the fox-shaped talisman that gives the bearer the ability to channel all those animal abilities. In universe, it's called tapping into the morphogenic field of Earth. Marie fled to the States an orphan and would change her name to Marie McCabe. She would eventually amass a fortune as a successful New York fashion model. She would then use that money to go home and steal the totem back, at which point she would begin her career as Vixen. The New 52 in 2011, which rebooted the entire DC universe, kept that origin largely the same. Only in this version, her father had already gifted her the amulet. And in her rise to fame, on top of being a model, she was also a reality show star and also an animal rights activist. She also had deeper ties to the trickster god Anansi this time. Those were extreme cliff notes, but enough that now you're prepared for Vixen NYC. Time of recording 3 chapters are out and some more are behind coins. It's releasing every Friday. We'll talk about the 3 available ones because if you go past that and look behind the cut, then Webtoon sends goons to your house. They don't actually, they just, claim your video, but it sounds more dramatic to say goons. Vixen is written by Jasmine Walls, inks by Mano Izumi, backgrounds Toby Fan, flats Haley Stewart, and there are more. There's a team here. I'll put them all up on the screen so that they can be seen. And some change per issue, so scroll down. This series starts off with a brief overview of the history of the totem, how it came to be and how it ended up in the hands of Tantu, how Tantu called upon the gods for protection for his village. Anansi, the trickster spider god, answered his call, impressed by his courage. Anansi gifted him with a powerful magic totem that made him stronger, faster, more ferocious. The village is gone now, swallowed up into a city, but this totem has been passed down our family ever since. The narration goes on that there are those who covet this power and that it needs to be kept safe. It's not surprising they covet it because Vixen's powers are stacked. Also, this narrator is Marie's grandmother who has chosen to pass the totem on to her. Marie is thrilled to receive it, but doesn't put too much weight on the story. In this series, Marie is an American girl who grew up in North Carolina and was visiting her family in Ghana for the first time before going off to university in New York. This new origin very much divorces her from her previous, more gritty one. Which is not to say there is nothing sad about her Webtoon one, because there are elements that show that there could be some depth mind there. Not just your stereotypical small town girl moving to the big city. But this Webtoon origin facilitates a different personality for Marie, a different outlook on life. She has a much different relationship to her heritage here, and some will enjoy that and others won't. Marie is presented very much as your average friendly girl. She has a good relationship with her parents, who also don't think much of the totem. She has a fear of flying, and she's keen to get her life started. Wow, everything is so shiny, like I'm in a movie. Whoa, this campus looks just like the brochure. not exactly like the brochure. Marie is a bit taken aback by New York, particularly how loud it is. And in the midst of being skeezed out by the trash, she bumps right into Beast Boy. So in this, they're age contemporaries. Wibbly wobbly, sliding timescale-y. He's so tall here, or she's really short. He's also green. Does everyone see him as green, or is that for us? Well, either way, he has a burrito, so if the green complexion wasn't enough to tip you off, then that would. While at first their meet cute seems like it's going well, he freaks her out by asking slightly weird questions when he recognizes the symbol of the totem on the box that fell out of her bag. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be like super interested in animals, would you? Way to make it weird, Gar. She looks so disgusted with him. He must have asked it in such a suggestive tone, way more than what I used. Now I know why people tell their kids not to talk to strangers. Upon arriving at her apartment, Marie meets her roommate, Bumblebee. Although not gonna lie, her design is a little different in some small aspects, and they made her look a bit more like Tanya Spears, aka the third Power Girl. So for a hot minute, I thought they were going with her and just calling her Karen because that's Power Girl's alias, or civilian name. But then there was a Bumblebee on her shirt later on. I realized that I was massively overcomplicating things. At the start of this, Karen is a nice roommate, but not an overly present one. Marie is left to her own devices, and after a week, she really hasn't settled in. There's so much noise, and it's muggy, and everything smells like trash. I'm already broke. Karen works as a photographer's assistant and says that she'll alert her to any opportunities. Sure, you've got a decent face. Thanks. I think. Karen alerts her to an open casting call, so she decides to go to it. But she's nervous, so she pulls out the totem for good luck. And without thinking about it, she utters the god Anansi's name, which activates the totem and alerts a villain sitting in shadows, claw style, with nice rings and a drink with too many ice cubes in it. Come on, get one big giant ice cube going on. For extra villainy. It dilutes your drink a bit less because it takes longer to melt. That power belongs to me. That was episode 1. On to episode 2, where Marie feels like that vision she had was just some kind of dream. Animals, Technicolor animals? No. This issue also introduces the fact that Bruce Wayne is in town. You thought you could escape Batman? Ha! Batman is the loner who is all places working with all teams. He is the night, the day, the afternoon, and leader of every club. Bruce Wayne hosts FNL. Bruce Wayne on FNL. Did he buy himself a sense of humor? There's a lot of anime style paneling in these. You can envision this scene playing out with these tropes, like Marie running down the hall for the subway. However, it doesn't go great for Marie because she gets mugged on the way to the audition. What did Mom always say about scary situations? Imagine what a predator would do. Really? My dad said to go for the eyes with a kind of scooping motion and go in from the corner. And my mom told me to yell fire because that tends to get more people's attention. So many fun childhood memories. Ooh, what's wrong, little mouse? Did you get lost in the big city? All of this causes Marie to channel her first animal, a rat, because she'd seen some on the New York subway. There's a really nice panel of her nails after they become claws, but before she does anything, she's saved by Batman, who she is completely starstruck to see. In the Rebirth canon, Batman recruits Vixen to a version of the Justice League. Maybe this is calling back to that. Or maybe Batman just needs to be everything, everywhere, all at once. Time for recording. Wait, aren't you supposed to be in Gotham? Are you complaining? Ah, see, Karen, he does have a sense of humor. He's paying it off in monthly installments of $29.99. His characterization thus far seems to be veering a bit towards Wayne family adventures, but that's probably because there's a kind of fan canon to a more slice-of-life Batman that these webtoons so far seem to have been channeling. It's heavy on the Bat Dad elements. We'll see where it goes. If you love Bat Dad, then that's great. If you don't, I'm so sorry. Thanks for helping me, Mr. Batman. Batman does acknowledge that it looked like she was about to be able to handle it, but by the time she's done fangirling to ask him any questions, he's gone. Just a little outline. Marie knows she felt something, but also she's late for this audition and she wants to get out of there before the cops show up. We are also introduced to a villain who is hunting her down, who is a picture of her as a child in some intense MCU Killmonger aesthetic. You know how much I like a good hunt. Episode 3, she finally made it to the audition. The suspense? It turns out it's to be a hand model, so no bit cuticles or anything like that. My dreams dashed. Marie imagines it's for jewelry or something glamorous, but it's for yogurt. Opening yogurt. Open the yogurt slowly, enticingly. What does that even mean? I hate that I've been on enough commercial sets to know exactly what that means. There is a sensual way you can open food. Well, she must have found the sexy yogurt opening skill because she gets paid. And things are looking up for her. She's liking the city more, she's enjoying school, even though she hasn't picked a major. Marie, please, that way lies debt. She's doodling about Batman. I've been enjoying the city more. Mostly. We see that the animals are always flocking around her, which she just views as odd, not specifically tied to her. yet. By this point, Karen and her have become friends too, so that's nice. She's also still avoiding Beast Boy, who she sees in like alleys talking to animals. But we're also seeing the beginning of some darker plot threads, as there are missing persons posters specifically for women seen in the background. And we do see them in that they've been taken. And we meet some more characters on the villain side, such as Sai, who is in league with our Killmonger Light. And they're working for General Moxai, who is Marie's uncle. So you know, it's hunting down the totem time. Sai is very reluctant. He doesn't like doing this. You can tell he's very uncomfortable, but he's forced into it. Both his duty to the village and his family are being held over his head. It's time to prove your worth, boy. I want results by tomorrow night, or it will be your family that pays the price. Marie is finally starting to suspect that the totem is doing something to the animals, which it's nice that she's able to follow that through so quickly. And so she asks Karen to analyze her necklace, because Karen makes jewelry, she's a scientist. Karen needs some depth, time of recording. So she gives Karen the totem, which you can already see is going to be a problem at some point, probably very soon. And we end on our villain, who's just hunting down some woman with a sniper scope, with some tranks, while sitting in front of Marie's ad, which is for Themysciran yogurt, as bankrolled by Bruce Wayne. So he's rebranded Greek yogurt with Diana? It's brilliant. And those are the first 3 issues. This series has a strong start if you're enjoying the tone, because it establishes it right out the gate. It also is very clear on its premise and just starts building upon it. It is playing in some tried and true tropes, but it's presenting them in a comfortable and well done way that is blending with the overall plot elements, not working against them or hampering them. There is also the beginning of a darker, more serious plot, and several side characters have been introduced. And so far, the elements are balanced with each other. They aren't jarring in contrast because they're nicely spaced, though mileage may vary. For those who enjoy this digital comic / webtoon art style, this series will be quite cute with a lot of visual gags, as mentioned, reminiscent of anime with some specific nods to the chibi art style. It also gives this diverse cast of characters different things to do. It's not retreading certain well-worn plot threads that tend to be brought out for such characters, which tends to happen in the more traditional comics time of recording. The characters, for the most part, while tropey, do also seem to have some elements that can be built upon, and some have more depth out the gate than others. So they have some core elements that many people can relate to or find enjoyable. Marie is all about coming of age, but also finding one's inner power with some clear adventures on the horizon. You have someone on the other side like Sai with duty and family versus morality. Although some are a bit more blank. Karen's still very much sassy, smart friend, but that may evolve, and it'll be interesting to see the characters who one recognizes interact together. Now this of course won't be for everyone. While for some this will be a fun introduction to the character of Vixen, or for some who are familiar they may still enjoy this presentation style and just seeing her again and perhaps be a fan of the genre and tropes, or just be enjoying this type of tone or the fact that they can read it on their phone, so many factors. For others it may be too dissonant. They may want something more serious all around, or not to be dealing with an aged down Marie, or to have her original origin, or just have this plot, because some of the themes that are being brought up, be darker overall. Some may just have that disconnect because Marie is so different from many of her other depictions, and some just may find her annoying rather than endearing. There have been some questions about whether this fits in on Webtoon because it's not pure slice of life. However, that may be because of a lack of familiarity with Webtoon, because this is drawing in some new people who don't always use it, because there are so many genres on Webtoon. It gets very dark on there. My word, some of the things. I've seen things. On the other hand, some may simply have wished that she had gotten the series through traditional publishing methods, just preferring consuming things that way. Though this already has a lot of eyes on it, so who knows, it could translate into other things. Of course, the art style will not land for all, and for some the tropes may grate. As always, different strokes for different folks. Now you know about it if you didn't already. And if it sounds like it's for you, you know what to check out, and if it doesn't, you know what to avoid. There's a lot of potential for different people to show up in this. Don't be afraid, Vixen NYC. Give us some Buana Beast or Animal Man. Beast Boy's already here. Come on, hit us with vibe. Are you interested in watching the journey of young Marie becoming Vixen? Did you read it and did you enjoy it? Was this webtoon up your alley? Or do you prefer a more classic style of Vixen? What is your favorite Vixen era or look? How do you feel about Batman being there? I'm having fun with this, but that's just my opinion. I want to hear yours. Tell me things down below, and while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.